mic on. I would like to call to order the Homes Committee for August the 4th. Any declaration of pecuniary interest, please state it now or something happens to arrive. I also would like to welcome our online listeners. We have 4 action items. The very first one is the exterior insulation and the finish on the Bruce Lee Haven. So I'll turn this over to Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you one of my managers in the person of Bill Dietrich, who is behind me. You see how the great support I have at Bruce Lee Haven. I always have my managers supporting my back there. This is Bill Dietrich. He is the Environmental Services Manager at Bruce Lee Haven, and he is indeed and has been the key person involved in the EFIS report, as I refer to it, and we will be referring to it, and that being the Exterior Insulation and Finish System Condition Assessment Report. And I'm going to ask Bill, before we actually go into the recommendation, to give us, I guess, a little bit of a history, as well as give us some detail as to what's brought us to today's report, which you have already received, I believe, and it has already been circulated. I'll pass it to you, Bill, please.
Good morning, everyone. The EFIS system at Bruce Lee Haven and at Gateway Haven, right pretty much from the beginning in 2003, we were experiencing some problems, and right after we had moved into the facility, we had some repair work done under warranty. There's a 5-year warranty on the system. And again, in 2008, we had some extensive repair work done by the contractor, the general contractor, Michael Monteith Enterprises. Very extensive work. I have blueprints here showing all the areas that were repaired back in 2008. And at that time, I also have some documentation between Michael Monteith Enterprises, the general contractor, and the corporation with some concerns or design issues. The contractor claims they had stated there was some design issues right from the beginning, and the architect and design consultants signed off on the way it was done. So I can't confirm the exact design issues, but I think in the Edison report, he makes some notes to that effect. Any questions on that so far? So since 2008, we've done some. I think we've recocked around windows twice. We've pressure washed the exterior of the facility, and it continues to bubble. Whether the bubbling is caused from moisture or just delaminating, we're not sure. And I think a further analysis of what's happening would indicate what is actually going on. It's quite extensive throughout the entire exterior of the facility. We definitely need to look at doing something in the future.
Thank you, Bill. Just want to start from Bill's endpoint there and bring us along to where we are today. In 2015, our CAO and the former administrator at Bruce Lee Haven were in consultation with Bill, and it was suggested that we would hire a company to look into really what the seriousness was of this dilemma at Bruce Lee Haven, but it's also at Gateway Haven. The Edison report that you have before you, that inspection, if you will, is solely on Bruce Lee Haven. So we will, the recommendation will also include, or the discussion around this and looking at the concern we have with EFS at Bruce Lee Haven will also affect Gateway Haven. So I just want to guide you into that. And the recommendation is that the exterior insulation and finish system, EFIS, condition assessment dated July the 7th, 2016, and conducted by Edison Engineers, May the 30th, 2016, at Bruce Lee Haven Long-Term Care be received for information and consideration of recommendations, options contained in the report. You will have noticed in the report, ladies and gentlemen, that there were 4 recommendations, and the cost connected with that was also indicated, and the 4 options to address the exterior issues that exist at Bruce Lee Haven. The first one was the minimum repairs and monitor to the tune of $125,000 to $150,000. That would this option would replace the window sealants and horizontal expansion joint sealants and install 6 new vertical expansion joints and monitor for further deterioration. The second option, consideration, would be localized repairs to the tune of maybe between $800,000 to $900,000, which involves installing 6 new vertical expansion joints, as in option 1, replace the base and finish coat where dilapidated, I think that's supposed to be, approximately 20% of EFIS based on visual grade level review, apply a new finish coat overall to hide the repair areas and provide overall facelift to the building. The third option is extensive repairs to the tune of $1.9 to $2.2 million, which would replace the entire exterior surface with a new drain system and proper tie-in details, including new flashings and seals to the window frames and new parapet cap flashings. The fourth option, further review, $15,000 to $20,000, this will cost us, that would access 6 drops from a swing stage or boom to confirm the extent of the delamentation. Is that the proper term here?
Delamination.
Delamination. I always say dilapidation, but delamentation. I apologize. Complete cutouts. You see, that's why I need Bill so very, very much. Complete cutouts at the various locations to check the adhesion of the insulation and the hidden deterioration, and remove the cap flashings to review the details, including membrane flashings, and the contractor to repair cutouts. And Edison Incorporated are recommending that we go with that fourth option. I would like to suggest that we do need to have further discussions as to what the true needs are in both long-term care homes, Bruce Lee and Gateway, and where they have the same companies, they have the same companies that built the homes, and they're experiencing the same problems in both. Maybe not to the extent right now at Gateway as what we're experiencing at Bruce Lee, but the exterior problems are very evident at Gateway as well. And we will need to have, both facilities will need to have major repairs or replacing within the next 5 years. Bruce Lee Haven Management wishes to consider for discussion at this level, please, option 1 and 4 combined with the review to include both county homes to ascertain the overall cost for these 2 county long-term care homes. So option 1, doing the minimal repairs and monitor, which are I think we both agree that are probably getting to the point of being crucial, but carry on with a further review that would include the needs at Gateway Haven. And that is really the recommendations presented before you, Mr. Chair.
Do we have any questions? Go ahead, Mel.
So then, you're recommending option 1 and 4, but does option 4, it looks at those joints, doesn't it? Isn't that what it's for, to look at how extensive it is?
Yeah.
Option 4?
Yes. Well, option 4 is a further review, though, of what is the full.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, which I do agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But should we proceed with option 1 before we find out
Oh, I see what you're saying. Very valid point.
Yeah, what you're afraid of, Milt, is that we go ahead and spend that 125 to 150,000, that might be wasted money when we're done with option 4 to see
Yes.
really what's going on in there.
That's very valid.
That's what you're getting at here?
Yes, that's very valid, yes.
But, Bill, do you,
There is a couple troubled areas that we do need to spend some money on to,
but I'm just wondering if you do one, though, you may have to come back and do,
yeah.
sure, yeah.
When I say trouble areas, I mean, we have a couple locations where water is coming in around windows.
So,
Those are the areas I need to address in a timely fashion, because we don't want to proceed.
Does it cost that much money to do that, Bill?
No, no.
That's the point.
I have 3 areas that I need to give attention.
So what's that cost?
I don't know. I can obtain some figures.
Oh,
If I can just intervene for 1 second and hopefully maybe provide a bit of clarity. I think the request is that we do 4 for the building, but as 4 starts, the focus from Bill's perspective is that we start first with the 2 areas where he knows we have to do something very quickly because the water is becoming internal to the building and we have mold risks and those sorts of things. So as 4 occurs, that their focus from the start is on those 2 areas to figure out how extensive it is and then complete the rest of the review.
okay, so, but that's not going to be 100 to 150,000.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, well, okay, if they're that serious, they need to be fixed, yeah.
All right, if I may, this option number 4, how long would that take before we'd have an answer back on that? Can you give us a time frame?
I can't give you a time. Sorry. I can't give you a time frame, but I have been in contact with Edison over the last week or so, and he's been curious to where we're at with the report, so.
So there is no idea, 6 months,
I
year,
can-
2 months?
I wouldn't think it'd be that long. I can't give you a definite answer on
Okay,
that.
very well.
But I have been in contact with the engineer over the last week.
Did you have something, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with doing the number 4, and we obviously have some repairs. I'm just inquisitive as to how do we contract out the repairs? Like, are we going right back to who put this on in the first place? Or there is local folks, one in particular up in Shallow Lake that's extremely knowledgeable of this product and applies it every day, so.
Through you, Mr. Chair, in terms of the original contractor, I don't think they are in business anymore, so I don't think that they're an option. But we would follow our procurement process and ideally have a local individual do the work.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess my question goes back, when you mentioned that there was perhaps a design fault with it. I wonder if we're doing this review, is that part of it? Or I suspect they'll do this review and come up with a solution to fix it, but it'd be interesting to understand if there is something, a design fault with it. Are they going to locate it? And I'm sure they will, I don't know. Maybe you can comment on it.
To the best of my knowledge, the design fault was the lack of drip edging over top of the windows. There is none. So the moisture would come around the ephes onto the window surface. And Edison did make mention of the potential for cutting out the product above the windows, placing a drip flashing above the windows, putting the insulation product back in, and resurfacing the finish. That's the biggest, as far as I know, that's where the design fault, to my knowledge. There could be more, but to my knowledge, the windows are missing the drip flashing.
Thanks, Bill. I suspect that when you do this review, that would identify that as a problem and suggest a solution. Yeah, thanks.
Is there any further questions? Okay, the recommendation is there that the assessment dated July the 7th, 2016, conducted by the Edison Engineers at the Bruce Lee Haven, be received for information purpose and consideration of recommendations or options that are contained in this report. Mover?
Yes. Attention to, yes. So the recommendation is, again, if I could just state
Yes.
that we would accept option 4 plus addressing the immediate concerns of the 4 areas that you had, or 3 areas that you had spoken of, Bill, including which we're addressing the leaky windows.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I would also recommend putting a financial ceiling on it
Yes.
of a value.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I would just mention that I was trying to find it in the report itself. I do know that in the report it spoke about the window leaks, and there are 4. Am I reading something completely different here? And the localized leak repair attempt would be to the tune of 30 to 40,000. So, but yes, definitely with a financial attachment to what those 3 major concerns to do with the leaks. But that is somewhat of a figure that was stated.
So through you, Mr. Chair, is the suggestion that option 4 to a maximum of 20,000 plus 50,000 for repairs, emergency repairs?
That sounds, yes, please. Yes, please.
You move that. Seconder? Seconded by Ann. Any further discussion? Ann?
I just hope when you get in there, you don't find other things that's happened in the past and things I've been involved with,
Yes.
when there's a design flaw.
Okay, all in favor then? Is carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is the wind shelter here at Bruce Lee Haven.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a recommendation that's before you, and this recommendation is based upon a request that's come from the Residents' Council that was held in April of this year. They've requested that there be a construction of a windbreak shelter costing $5,263.20 plus HST, and awarded to Prestige General Contractors, who presented the lowest quoted price. And the Residents' Council is requesting that this windbreak shelter be built and funded from the Bruce Lee Haven General Donations account. I did provide some background. I don't know if there's any questions on that further, but I can give you a further description. It is basically a shelter, a windbreak that would go around, if you will, the seated area that is about, am I right in saying about 40 feet from the, from our front entrance. This shelter also would provide according to the Residents' Council request, some shelter in the winter for those those residents that feel they need to go out for a windbreak. Are smokers, yes. But the construction of it is certainly, it's open and well ventilated, and Mr. Dietrich has certainly, in the design of it, seen to it.
Any questions? Okay. And seconder? I gotta take Janice for seconder. I guess I don't have to read the recommendation that the windbreak shelter costs them $5,263.20, and that comes from the general donation account. All in favor? Carried.
That'll just be for the residents, Charlie, only for the staff.
Just for the residents. Interestingly enough, there already exists a shelter for staff that was built some years ago.
Okay. Next item, the capital budget for Bruce Lee Haven. Charlie?
Yes. Through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to just make some general comments about the projected 2017 capital budgets for Bruce Lee Haven and Gateway Haven, and then I will go in specifically to the Bruce Lee Haven capital or projected capital budget for 2017. I think that already, just through our previous conversations in this committee, you would recognize that we are facing in long-term care some really major capital issues. The major issues concerned in the 2017 projected capital budgets for both homes, yes, will be dealing with addressing our major exterior repairs replacement in both homes, which we've just discussed. Currently, there is less than $400,000 in our overall reserves, building reserves included, in long-term care. And if the EFIS report for Bruce Lee Haven is any indication of what the overall major repairs that we'd be facing in both homes are concerned, we could be looking at anywhere between $4 million to $5 million. Anyway, that is a major concern that we're going to need to look at in these next few years in long-term care. And we do have in the Bruce Lee Haven capital proposed capital budget today, we have projected some expenses for addressing the EFIS report. The second major issue is the need to replace our aged, outdated major medical equipment. Each year, for the last few years, we have been requesting reserve monies into replacing our major medical equipment, tubs, the tub chairs, lifts, and what have you. And each year we have made purchases, but we have also had to withdraw our reserve allocation just so that we could come under and not be asking for too much of a county contribution. And the county has been very generous in this last few years, for sure, in addressing our major capital needs when it comes to medical equipment. I would mention that in 2016, we had in both homes used all of the reserves that we have to date, apart from $43,000. That's all we have left in our medical equipment reserves. And in both of these capital budgets, we are asking for the purchase and the replacement of some tubs and lifts. We are looking at a facility that is currently 13 years old, and most of this equipment is that age as well. So we find ourselves in a little bit of a crunch because in 2017, Gateway Haven will be asking for $56,000 towards medical equipment purchase, and that will include also reserves as well. And Bruce Lee Haven will be asking for over $200,000 which will also include a suggested reserve placement. Then also another concern will be in connection with that is that there needs to be a complete replacement of these medical tubs, but each year, again, the reserve monies has been withdrawn, so consequently, we do not have anything to draw from really in this budget. I think that is basically my introduction to it, and I will just go directly then, unless there's anything that anyone would like to question further. We'll go into the specific Bruce Lee Haven capital budget, which you have before you and which was distributed. This budget reflects the 2017, and I will just highlight what are the requests. If you would go to the I would like to make a general and probably a closing comment. You will find in this budget the overall cost of capital projects for 2017 at Bruce Lee Haven will be to the tune of $802,499. That, you will see, does include some funding of the EFS repairs, as well as a huge donation to the, if you want to call it donation, to the reserve funds for the medical equipment. In this overall budget, proposed budget, the capital projects at Bruce Lee Haven does total $802,499, and the revenues from reserves that we can draw from, building reserves and what have you, will be $290,000, leaving a net request capital expenditure of $512,499. So what does those requests really consist of? In the area of the administration operating, the requests all have to do with our IT requirements. That $17,200 total for this year was actually presented to us from the IT department last year in their projection for 2017. That is to be confirmed. In the program and support, we do not have any capital requests. In our dietary department, what we're requesting this year is the purchase of a Blixer, a food transportation cart, replacing some countertops, and also a transfer to kitchen equipment reserves of $15,000 for a total in the dietary department of $43,000. In the nursing is where we have our biggie, as we normally do, and in the nursing department, we are requesting the purchase of some specialized mattresses, 3 Arjo Alenti bath chairs, 3 Rhapsody tubs, and these are the replacement tubs. I would just want to mention to you that when I submitted this proposed capital to you, I did not have a confirmation from Arjo company who do provide us with the overall lifespan and certainly the value of a replacement of the tubs. What my question to Arjo was is that can we? I know that the life of the tubs is really over because we've marked we're into our 13th year. But is there still life left in those 3 remaining tubs? And I just got back on Tuesday a reply from Arjo that said that that purchase could be put off for another year, maximum even 2. So there may be some adjustments to that, but included in this budget is $80,000 for the replacement of 3 Rhapsody tubs. We did replace 3 last year. Also 3 Tornadoes, 6 lifts, and 3 spot vital signs monitors, and again, transfer to Arjo reserves of $30,000, brings us to a capital request in the nursing department to $265,225. In the other accommodation, the EFS exterior repairs, we were thinking that should this board accept the option 1 and 4, that it would, which would also include a review to Gateway, that it would be to the tune of about $175,000, which we are asking for in this, but will be, of course, adjusted according to this morning's discussions and direction. Thank you. There's $15,000 called up in the other accommodation capital requests for the flooring replacement, $15,000. Under the building mechanical and electrical, we're requesting putting into, if you will, a replacement reserve of $115,000 for the replacement of the new telephone and nurse call bell system for Bruce Lee Haven. You will be aware that at Gateway Haven, we've already have this project in place, and it's moving ahead. And Bruce Lee Haven sees that we definitely do need ours replaced as well. And so we've based this $115,000 for the next 5 years as a projected cost. Also, the transfer to the building reserves, which really amounts to 1% of our overall last year's operating expenses, if you will, our budget rather. And so we're transferring $94,174 into building reserves. Equipment, we're looking at please replacing or providing more lockers for staff to the tune of $6,000, and purchasing some drapery of $15,000, and furniture reserves of $10,000. This brings us to a total in the other accommodation of $430,174, which we're hoping to take from our reserves, building reserves and what have you, $290,000, which leaves a net accommodation operating of $140,174. From our donations, we do have a very healthy donations account, if you will, at Bruce Lee Haven, and we're requesting some capital expenditures from that donations, specifically for the building and installing of a snoozling room. You want me to explain what a snoozling room is? Actually, it is a designated space where residents who are dealing with dementia, yes, but having some psychological concerns, it's a calming room. You go in there, there's the, what I always refer to as the lava lamps, because I don't know what the proper term is, but it's like these long cylinders that have the lava, if you will, moving. There's the where they can actually feel different textures that have a calming effect. There's music, if that's what they need, and it's a calming space for those that are dealing with excessive behaviors and psychological problems. And it's called the Snoozling Program, and it's a designated space that is decorated with these various pieces of equipment. We're also requesting from the donations an installation of an automatic door openers to our 3 balconies to the tune of $11,900, and a transfer, that totals $46,900, and these monies, that $46,900 would be out of the existing donations account. Long and short of it is, again, the summary, these total projects, including the reserves, contribution to reserves totals $802,499, and the revenue from the reserves $290,000, leaving a net capital expenditure proposed $512,499. That's the Bruce Lee Haven capital budget.
Any questions on the Bruce Lee one? Okay, we'll move into the Gateway.
Yes. Gateway Haven. Overall, you will see as I go down through that there are capital projects for 2017, total $294,635, which also includes donation to reserves for the medical equipment and building. We're looking at a revenue from reserves of $100,000, leaving our net capital expenditures of $194,635. That's what our net asks are this year. Some detail to that is that in the administration, IT specifically, we are asking for $23,750. And I didn't highlight this in the Bruce Lee one, but I do want to highlight it in this one, please. This also includes transfer to reserves for the replacement of photocopiers that were purchased last year, previously leased. So for the next 5 years, we're looking at a $2,000 reserved for replacement in 5 years. Further asks in the dietary department, the dietary there is requesting a transfer to specific kitchen equipment reserves of $6,000, and they're looking at a major replacement of some of the refrigeration in the next 5 years. Under nursing, this is where we get into the medical equipment, specialized mattresses, the Arjo Alenti bath chairs. I think that's represents 2 chairs. I stand to be corrected. In the meantime, 1 Rhapsody tub. No, that's 1 chair, 1 bath chair, and 1 Rhapsody tub. 2 lifts, and under the bed replacement, they have been in this last couple of years, as well as in the next 5 years, looking at replacing their beds. And it's to the tune of $10,000 each year, and a transfer of $23,000 to the Arjo reserves, the medical equipment reserves. Gateway Haven is hoping to build the wooden shade structure at the 2 West exit. You would recall a few years ago, we actually fenced off and built a ramp down from the east and the west exits from the 2nd floor to the back. What Gateway Haven is wanting to do this year is to build a wooden shade structure in that area so that residents could go out there and be shaded in the sun, from the sun, what have you, to the tune of $27,000. Internally, they're in the internal, not internally, but as far as the interior of the building is concerned, Gateway Haven is needing to replace some flooring on the 1st floor in the office areas in 217, and to the tune of $20,000, and they're looking to transfer, please, from the flooring reserves of $15,000. Under the mechanical electrical, the transfer to the building reserves of $63,885, that represents the 1% of the overall budget in Gateway Haven. Some equipment purchases involving laundry carts, 8 of them, and a scrubber to the tune of $18,000. Then 20 nightstands, transfer to reserves to the tune of $15,000. And so the total under other accommodation is $158,885, with the transfer from the furniture and building reserves totaling $57,000, leaves a balance of a net operating ask in the accommodation, in the other accommodation department of $101,885. Again, the summary of this is that the net capital projects overall, including reserves, 2 reserves for future use, is $294,635. The revenues, hopefully, from this reserve, from the present reserves, would be $100,000, and the net capital expenditures will be $194,635. That is the budget for Gateway Haven.
Is there any questions? Go ahead, Paul.
So the capital projects that you required for 2017 was at 294,000. Is that on top of or included in or a duplication of the number that Betty Ann was trying to explain why we need to start building the reserve? Is that Betty Ann's number this morning? I think Kelly was 3.25 or something.
340,000.
So is that 340 transfer back to take care of this 294, or is that 3.25 plus this? Charlie, or whatever, yeah.
Well, okay, the 340,000 actually was a figure that would be in the replacement of the building itself. The building reserves that we're referring to here, when we talk about, that goes towards the interior repairs and replacements. The 340,000 is the actual replacement of the building exterior and major capital costs. Am I correct? I think initially, if I might just put in here that I'm thinking probably back in 2007 or 8, we talked about putting aside 340,000 for the building of a third facility. Yeah, that's where that originated. And but from Betty Ann's presentation this morning, I was gathering that it's now looking at major repairs and what have you to our facility, but I'll leave that to you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the 340 is not part of what Charlie has presented, but I'm anticipating that we will be coming back saying we still need to do it given the results of the Edison report.
Yes, for sure.
Any further questions? Okay, so we have one more information item here.
Yeah, I just, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. In this report, I had indicated that Bruce Lee Haven had completed their annual long-term care resident quality inspection, and that once a public report was received, it would be distributed. And I received that on Tuesday, and I believe it's been distributed. I did pass it along to Darlene for distribution, albeit it was just yesterday. So I'm very, very pleased with the report. And just to give you a very quick summary, and that we received only really one written notification. And we have accompanying that one written notification. I'm going to say 4, voluntary plan of care, which maybe I should give a little explanation to that. There was only one notification which says that there was one serious unmet, and that was in the area of reporting neglect, abuse allegations. And not that our process was flawed, is that in every case in this last year, we did not follow our process to the T. So there was a finding in that process, and that's why we were cited on that one. There were a number of other areas, and they're called voluntary, I have it here, why don't I just refer to it? They're called the voluntary plan of care, and that involves, again, some of the processes weren't always followed, and one of our policies, for instance, we had a harassment and abuse and violence and zero tolerance for all of that in-house contained in our various policies, but we did not have a zero tolerance policy itself. And the Ministry of Health cited us on that in the sense that it was, they noticed it, they noted it, and they are suggesting that we come up with a policy, but it's a voluntary policy. So Bruce Lee Haven is to be applauded. As far as I'm concerned, they really did extremely well. The Ministry of Health, again, spoke very highly of how they were received and how they were helped and the transparency that existed there, and it caused the inspection to go very smoothly and with what I feel to be excellent results.
Yeah, I'd like to commend you, Charlie. A lot of it goes back to the management, and you're ahead of the management, and to get this kind of report is very well. We
Thank-
appreciate the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, but it's really the staff, but thank you very much. I'll pass that on.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay, if there is none, then I need to move in, that was for information purposes, and I need to move in a seconder that we knew now adjourn to meet again on September the 1st. Moved by Ann, second by Janice. All in favor? Carried. We are now adjourned.
Thank you very much.